When I'm looking at the free section of my favorite websites and find something good to pick up, most of the time I get really excited to drive across town in hopes of picking something up to fix and share that repair with other people. But sometimes I'm not in a position to leave the house. That's what happened with this particular mower, and I hate to say it, this one didn't go quite as I expected. What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by. Today's project is this old Murray mower, and the problem is that I don't know anything about it because I just got it after seeing an ad where they were giving it away for free. So in this video, I'm going to share my experience getting this free mower and other free stuff in general. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to give it a good cleaning. That way we don't get dirt in places where it's not supposed to be, like in the fuel tank or the carb. And I have to say it doesn't look that bad, but this has to be one of the dirtiest mowers I've ever had the misfortune of receiving. Now, from the clips I've shown you, it looks just like a faded mower with some dirt clinging to the engine block, but if you move to the front, it's a different story. There seems to be some oil or gasoline that's soaked into the faded paint, but it doesn't stop there. There's also some oil and dirt on the front of the engine, specifically on the fuel tank support bracket, which is something I've never seen before. It's also interesting to note that the spark plug looks to be brand new, which means someone's worked on this mower, probably trying to get it to work again. The next part we're going to look at is the part that's a bit more disturbing. So here's what I'm most worried about. I've never seen a fuel tank look like this before. I don't know what's covering it, but it could be the source of what's on the mowing deck. I would imagine it's just dirt and gasoline residue, but as you'll see here in a few minutes, I don't think that's the case. Now, the fuel tank has a small amount of gasoline in it, so I don't have to worry about draining it, but the problem is I don't have enough gasoline to examine to see if there were any fuel-related issues either. I'm also just checking to see what kind of condition the oil is in, not its level, and it's pretty obvious it hasn't been changed in a long time, so if we do get this thing working again, we'll have to do an oil change. Looking under the mowing deck, it's really not that bad under here as far as grass clippings go, but the most alarming issue is that the new blade that's been installed is upside down. Now you can still cut the grass with an upside down blade, but it's more like beating the grass into submission than cutting it. If this mower turns out to be broken, at least we'll get a new blade out of it. Unfortunately, in that case, there really isn't much more on this mower that I'd want to keep because, to be honest, this thing is very out of date. Now, the first thing I want to do is start the process of cleaning the underside of the mowing deck. The easiest way is to get the grass saturated with water. That way, it'll be easier to scrape off. Depending upon how thick the grass is, this might take some time, but we're just going to get it wet and then give it time to soak in. While spraying it with water, some of the grass is going to eventually come off, which is what we want, but remember, the main goal here is to just get it wet and not try to remove the grass just yet. Now, I believe I was in the middle of fixing and filming a piece of equipment when I happened to check the free section and noticed a free mower located about 12 miles from me. Now, I could have stopped filming and jumped into my car, but for whatever reason, I had to finish filming first. So the next best option was to call a friend who lives near the item and ask them if they were available to do me a favor. Now, this sort of situation is very special. It's not very often that you can have this sort of relationship with a friend, so I'm very fortunate in this situation. It turns out they weren't home at the time, but they were still very close to the location, and they very kindly agreed to pick it up for me. Now, at the time, I was trying to film as much as I could because I needed to have a stockpile of videos saved up for the winter, so I really wanted to get my hands on this mower as soon as possible. So I very quickly finished filming and then got into my car to head over to their location. It took me about 20 minutes to get there, but when I arrived, I noticed that their vehicle wasn't there. I sat in my car for about 15 or 20 minutes, and in that time, I started to get worried that something terrible might have happened to them or they had car problems. So needless to say, I was starting to regret asking them for their help. After a few minutes, I finally saw their car driving towards me, and I was very relieved to see them. I didn't see any damage to their car or a spare tire, so that made me feel even better. I got out of the car and we greeted each other. I then proceeded to help him get the mower out of the trunk. Now, I don't remember asking them why it took them so long to get back, but fortunately, they started to tell me what happened. It turns out that when they arrived at the location, the mower needed tools to take the handle down so it would fit in the trunk. Luckily, they had some tools, but they weren't ideal for the job, so it took them some time to do. Now, I felt bad because when I was looking at the pictures, I didn't see that it had nuts and bolts holding the handle together, so I told them they wouldn't need any tools, which of course was wrong. That wasn't the only hurdle my friend ran into. It turns out they ran into a concerned neighbor who was asking questions, and then eventually, after they realized the situation, they struck up a conversation about his car, which of course slowed him down even more. I don't know what's on this fuel tank, but it's not just gasoline residue and dirt. I'm having to throw everything I've got at it, and it's putting up quite a fight. At the time of filming, I didn't use my degreaser, but this would have been an ideal time to do it. It might have been able to save me some time, but unfortunately, I continued to stubbornly scrub at this tank for what seemed like an hour. What I kept doing was switching from gasoline to soap until I was able to break through whatever was covering this fuel tank. The best description of what I was dealing with is grease and dirt, which doesn't make sense because there isn't any grease used on this mower. But after quite a bit of scrubbing, I'm finally able to rinse off all the cleaners, and I hate to say it, but I don't think it's going to get any better than this. So far, I've been given the names of several degreasers, but I've only gotten one of them. So if you have any suggestions on what degreaser you like to use, I'd really appreciate it. I'm sure there are some great brands out there, I just need to find the one that I like the most. So here's a comparison of what it looked like before and after scrubbing on the fuel tank. I'm not sure what that stuff was, but I'm glad it's finally gone. That means I can now continue removing the rest of the dirt on this engine and eventually the rest of the mower as well. So back to the story and how I got this mower. Once it was out of the trunk and on the ground, I finally got a really good look, and I was surprised by what I was seeing. This mower was a lot older than what it looked like in the picture, and also was very dirty. I pulled out my phone to look at the picture to make sure it was the same mower, and sure enough, if I moved to the exhaust side of the engine, it looked just like the picture. So here's what happened. The person that was giving away this mower only took one picture of it, which was from the exhaust side. That way it didn't show just how dirty this mower really was. Unfortunately, the picture wasn't clear enough to see that the wheels were not easily adjustable and that the handlebars were not foldable either. Now, I'm not going to complain too much for getting a free mower, but the biggest problem is, what can I do with this antiquated lawnmower? Now, it is still a mower, but its market value is very low. Even during the good part of the season, I don't think I could get more than $30 for this mower, and that's a big if. Now, I really shouldn't worry too much about this mower just yet because we still need to see if this mower even runs. It was given away, but I have to wonder why. Was it because it didn't start, or does it smoke, or did they give it away because they couldn't sell it either? Either way, it's mine now and it's my responsibility, and I hope I can get it working again. I may not be able to sell this mower for any real profit, but the least I can do is possibly donate it to someone who needs it. Besides, I have too many mowers to use for myself anyways, and they're meant to be used and not kept in storage. The funniest part was that my friend's father came out of the house to see what his son had brought home. He saw the mower and realized how old it was and asked me why I would want such an old lawnmower. I told him I didn't realize how old it was by the picture and that I would have passed on it if I'd realized it then. I then told him it doesn't matter how old the mower is, the fun part was trying to figure out what was wrong with it and then see if I can get it working again. He then asked me what I was going to do with it after I fixed it, and I do believe I told him that I was going to give it away because I don't think I can sell it. Now, there is one huge benefit to this mower, and it's the mowing deck. So what's so special about it? Even with its age, there aren't any rust holes through it, meaning this deck is made out of a thicker metal than the ones that are being sold today as economy mowers. Even as I clean the paint, I can see it's held up much better than the paint on today's mowers. Even the stickers seem to be staying on better than the ones they use now. Now, the more I look at this mower, I'm beginning to second guess myself as to its value. I thought it wasn't worth much because it doesn't have any bells and whistles like adjustable wheels, a mulching feature, or even handlebars that can be easily folded down for storage. But what I'm seeing here is a very robust mower without the features that will eventually fail and cause problems later on. Now, even though these wheels aren't that pretty, their simple design and build quality have allowed them to take some serious abuse, and they haven't broken yet. And even though they don't have bearings in them, the center sections where the wheels spin on the bolts haven't worn out either, so the wheels still spin without a lot of wobble. The last thing we need to do is to go back to the grass under the mowing deck. Now for this part, I'm going to use my scraper, but using the garden hose should work just as well. You'll just need more water pressure. If you have a wire brush, that'll work too, but it's going to make more of a mess than the scraper. Once I get most of the grass loose, I'll then use more of the water to wash the rest of it away. As you can see, we didn't get every piece of grass off the mowing deck, and that's perfectly fine. My main goal was to remove as much as I could so the grass clippings can move around the underside of the deck and effectively discharge out the side. The other option would be to get a mulching blade for this mower, but we would also need to make a block-off plate to cover the side chute. After spending the last 30 minutes cleaning this mower, I really wish I had used a degreaser and the pressure washer, but I got a really good detailed look at the engine and the mowing deck, and I have to admit it's in really decent shape for its age. I may not make any money with this one, but at least it's really nice to look at. The last thing we need to do is to see if this thing will start after manually priming it with some fuel. So at least we know that it starts and runs, and we didn't clean this mower for nothing. In the next video on this mower, I'll try to get it running, and more than likely I'll have to diagnose a couple of issues with it. I have to ask, if you saw this old mower sitting on the side of the road next to the trash cans, would you pick it up? I hate to say it, I might stop for a second, look at it, and then just drive off. As much as I appreciated my friend giving their time for me and getting this mower, to be honest, I don't think I'll be asking them anytime soon for their help because I don't want to be responsible if they get hurt because I wasn't able to do it myself. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching me clean, inspect, and share my experience getting this mower. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own project, and I hope to see you in the next video.